Hello everyone, and welcome to today's SANS webcast. A glimpse of the new FOR585 Advanced Smartphone course. My name is Carol Auth of the SANS Institute, and I will be moderating today's webcast. Today's featured speaker is Heather Mahalik, SANS Instructor. If during the webcast you have any questions for Heather, please enter them into the questions window located on the GoToWebinar interface at any time. Please note that this webcast is being recorded, and a copy of the slides and recording of this webcast will be available for viewing later today and can be found on the SANS registration page. And with that, I'd like to hand the webcast over to Heather.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, pending where you are, maybe evening. With this webcast, one thing I do recommend is if you have questions, just ask them at any point. I try to keep my eye on the chat window, so I will answer them as soon as I can. If I'm in the middle of a thought or a sentence, I will finish and then get to your questions. You can see here on the screen, both Cindy Murphy and I have several upcoming instances of this course. We only list through September here, but we are offering it at least once a month for the unforeseeable future. There is a V-Live coming up that starts on Monday. It is not too late to sign up. If you take that one, you will get instruction by both Cindy Murphy and myself. So don't forget to sign up for that. I think right now, if you sign up by July 12th, you do get a $450 discount. So check that out. And obviously, SansFire is coming up in just a few weeks. With SansFire, that is where this new course material is going to hit. So what you see here is going to be released for students at SansFire. They will be the first to get this course. Often people ask, and I just taught a few weeks ago in Austin, and one of the first things the students ask are, why now? So why are you doing a major update? With this course, we are allowed to have one major update a year and one minor. Now, major updates usually include just some OS versions added in and some slides tweaked. This, however, could technically be advertised as a brand new course based upon what we're adding, which you'll get to see. We do have a certification, the GAF cert, so the GIAC Advanced Smartphone Forensic cert is associated to this. If you are worried about your cert, you'll see in the next slides, don't stress. Other reasons we're changing this. OS versions are progressing so quickly with no sign of slowing. One thing that we have issues with is when we want to add new course material, what can we take away? The issue is most people update, so we can't necessarily cut iOS and Android at all because it's important that you understand what used to be there. So if your tool gets what I like to call tunnel vision, you can look in the past and historically see artifacts that may not be readily available to the user but still exist. With these devices, some of what we were teaching are now becoming a little bit more obsolete. So the older Nokia devices, older Windows phones, we're shifting our focus from that to what everyone in the world is seeing and trying to stay current with those items. Also, we have new methods. So the tools have changed, our methods have changed. We've had some students who have taken the course and they went ahead and wrote custom scripts that we can now produce for you. So this is what we intend to focus on in this new course. Also, we've learned a lot. Lee Crognelli, one of the co-authors of the course, and I spent a lot of time looking at third-party applications. Cindy Murphy has since gone and started working with her own company at Gilware, so she's learned a lot as well, and the three of us together, we just want to share what we've been learning. These smartphones evolve so quickly, new tools, new techniques, new methods, and it's time just to build it into 585. So what exactly is new? 7 brand new labs. We have changed day 5, which I'll talk about in a second here on the right-hand side. Day 5 is 90% new at this point. The only thing that exists that's the same is that first third-party application lab. So if you're alumni, you know what this is. If you aren't, I would say buckle your seatbelts because get ready to take off in third-party apps. What we highlight are what the tools do not do for you with all these applications. This day, we added 4 new labs just for day 5 in itself. You will manually create queries for SQLite. You are going to recover deleted data from chat applications that are supposed to be secure. You are going to manually chain together attachments. So whether it's videos, audio, or pictures with these secure chat apps, Additionally, you're going to go through and decode dates and times and do just a ton of things that the tools aren't always going to support. Now, one of the questions, why won't the tool support this? You have to wonder, what is their return on investment? So if they support an app that you see, how many other people in the world are seeing it? The goal of 585 is to teach you how to approach every single application that you may come across for your investigation. So this is something that is going to be considered. Other new labs that we added a brand new BlackBerry 10 lab focusing on third-party apps. So even if you don't see BlackBerry devices, at least you'll know how to look at the Android applications on these devices. We added a SQLite forensic intro lab on day 1. We added an Android backup lab. We also added an encrypted iOS 10 backup lab. So several labs have been added to just spice up and keep current the material. Tool changes. We are switching 100% from Magnet IEF to Axiom. We are actually going to be the first forensics course to give this a shot with SANS. I will tell you, I've tested it thoroughly. I've worked with Magnet, and it's awesome, the amount of information that it brings to the table. Extraction methods have now been updated. We've become a lot smarter on password cracking, which you'll see in a slide coming up. We're also doing something new starting with day 4 in our course where you choose your own adventure. So material will be taught, and as a student, you will get to choose which lab you want to work on. So if you are offered a lab and it's just not relevant to the area where you live or the cases that you work, just don't choose that adventure. The good news is if you choose an adventure and then later you see the other device, you have access to your course MP3. I will review all of the labs in the MP3, so you could always go back to your workbook, your course material, in my MP3 and get that data. Schedule changes. So on the right, this is kind of a generic overview of what we will teach you each day. On day 1, we dive right into malware right away. It has been Android specific until this version that's released at SansFire. We are now adding in how to look at and decompile Mac malware. So if this is new to you, this is something that interests you, I would say definitely take 585 because we're going to start touching on this. One of the goals is to have a Mac malware lab. We currently don't have that, but when we get it, we will offer this to 585 alumni, which I will talk about in a second on how this affects you if you are alumni. The smartphone overview, not much has changed there. We want you to know what is included in smartphones, what you need to know to work your investigations. SQLite forensics, brand new. We're going to introduce how to manually handle SQLite data, and you'll have a brand new lab at this point. For day 2, Android all day. So we're looking at what's new in Nougat, other features, has data changed, are artifact locations different, and you will have 3 labs on day 2. On day 3, we continue with Android. So you get a brand new Android backup lab, which you should compare to your file system dump. And then from there, we go into iOS forensics, and you have 2 labs. So 3 labs on day 2, 3 labs on day 3. Day 4, 2 labs in the morning. So iOS backup. You have a legacy backup and an iOS 10 encrypted backup because it's important that you understand how the databases differ and what this looks like. From there, we go into Windows 8 and 10 forensics and BlackBerry 10 forensics, and you will choose an adventure on which one you want to work on. Now, if you're like me, I know when I took the Mac course, 518 by Sarah Edwards, she does some choose your own adventures, and I was the overachiever go-getter, so I had to do all of the labs, and I was late there every day. You can also do that. So technically, there are 4 labs on day 4. Day 5, 4 additional labs, third-party apps and SQLite forensics all day. It's an awesome day. This is the day I'm probably most excited about teaching, just because I feel like it really puts all the pieces together for what the students have learned throughout the rest of the course. And then day 6 is our forensic capstone. We are still using the same capstone that we used this year. We expect to start building a new challenge starting this summer. So expect to see a new challenge in the summer of 2018 if you're looking to retake the course at that point. So what does this mean for you? This is the biggest question I get. What does this mean? When should I take 585? What I would say is take 585 now. You're going to get the most current material. You are going to see the current gaps in the tools, the current strengths in the tools. We are completely vendor neutral. I've heard rumors that people say, oh, it's a Celebrate course, it's a magnet course. It is definitely not. I've had Celebrate trainers take my course who say, wow, you have now shown me what I thought was happening behind the scenes, but I wasn't sure. They also get to see other tools in action. You will learn where your tool is strong and where it will back you in a corner in this course. The goal is to teach you how to use your tool properly to extract the data you need and understand what your tool is presenting to you as forensic artifacts. Sometimes it's presenting false artifacts. It is not the tool's fault, excuse me for that, not the tool's fault. It's how the smartphone stores the data. You will get 20 hands-on labs to test your knowledge in this course. In addition to that, if you choose to take the cert, you will get to prove that you can test your knowledge on what you learned in this course with a certification that is recognized in many places. I will say I do a lot of hiring where I work, and we recommend that students have GX certifications. So for the alumni, those of you who are worried about what you're missing out on, I would say refer to smarterforensics.com in the 585 portal. Those of you who have taken my class know what this means. If you have not taken my class, you will learn what this means when you take this. This is a password protected section strictly for my alumni. There will be bonus information there and updated cheat sheets. Most likely I'll post that in August, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to take the course again, you do get a 50% alumni discount. If you're worried about third-party apps and SQLite data, I would say take the course again. If you have just taken the course and you fall into that range of, oh no, an update's coming out, but you haven't taken your cert yet, do not worry. Your cert is based on your course version, so your books will still work. You will not have to get hit with updated questions that you haven't been taught, so do not worry. For the 585 alumni who are not able to pay for the course again and you want to take it, you can always apply to be a facilitator. You could always just keep testing your tools and stay current. Paul Sanderson is writing a book on SQLite forensics, and it should be released hopefully at some point this fall, I believe. I'm doing tech editing for him. It's fantastic. Get books, read blogs, test with your lab data that you currently have. You have a lot of third-party apps, so you could technically pull databases and create your own lab. So do not worry if you can't pay to take it again. I just cannot stress enough to stay current. With 585, we give you a SIFT workstation. It is different than the traditional SANS SIFT. It is designed for smartphone forensics. Will it help you when you play net wars and work forensic investigations? Absolutely. Some of the tools that we cover are listed here. You'll see we try to include a lot of free tools as well. Most everything we do with malware is 100% for free. We will use tools like FTK Imager and Autopsy. They're amazing. Autopsy works really, really well on Android devices and Windows phones. Blacklight. Blacklight works really well in this course as well. Blacklight does a great job in third-party app labs. It does okay on Windows phones, which some people wouldn't think that. You'll see we have IEF Mobile still in here, but we are using Axiom. Also, we use Oxygen Forensic Detective, which is just a little bit more powerful than Oxygen Forensics. So if you are used to one of those, you will get to touch other tools. Paul Sanderson gives you a 90-day license for Sanderson SQLite Forensic Browser. We use tools like Andriller to crack into these devices. So just more than what the average person is using. Any questions so far before I go into a glimpse of what you're going to see in the new 585? And my goal is to keep this right around a half hour, keep your interest, not give too much of the course away, but give you little glimpses of what's new. On Android Day, something new, Nougat. So what did Nougat introduce and how does this affect our investigations? A few things here. The virtual reality stuff, to be honest, have not tested this thoroughly yet. I intend to see what it looks like. But things that I am currently testing, using two applications simultaneously in the same window. How is this going to look? Forensically, something to consider here is I have a lot of students who work accident reconstruction that need to know exactly what the user was doing when the accident occurred. Something like 2 applications being used simultaneously could make this a little more challenging. It's challenging enough to begin with, but when we look at this, we're going to have to pinpoint and put a user behind an app at a specific time. So these are things we're going to cover. Chrome. Everything you've learned on Windows computers are going to apply to these Android and iOS devices. Multiple Chrome tabs at the same time. What is this going to look like on an Android device? What happens if a user clears their apps? Can we still see what was running in memory at specific times? Are we able to recover snapshots and application tracking? So we're going to look at all of these artifacts, what the data looks like behind the scenes, and how we can recover this. I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and they were actually asking, do you think that locks are going to keep us out? Do you think smartphone forensics is going away because of locks? The answer is no. We're just getting better at unlocking these devices and getting into them. Sure, you can pay for services where you send off your device to Celebrate, CAIS, and then you unlock it and send it back. But if you can't do that, what are your options? One of the labs we have is to focus on, one, what type of pattern is set or password on that device, and then how do you crack it? So we use files that are stored on the Android device to go in and see what the settings are, and then attempt to brute force our way in. Here's an example of the different passwords you will see on an Android and methods that we can get into these devices. So I'm being asked a question. Let me see this really quick. I believe it's about data syncing to cars. So Alicia, for someone in your class, are they going to the Burla course? Just out of curiosity. So the question that's being asked while I'm waiting for a response is, have I done much research on phones being synced with cars? And yes, it's the Burla course. So right outside of Baltimore. That's exactly what they're taking. They're probably taking the IV training. I personally have not done a lot of research yet. This is something Sarah Edwards and I have talked about branching into a little bit, just checking on when phones are synced with cars, what you can get. Burla does cover this. They cover recovering all the data from infotainment systems, and their course is the IV training. Personally, I haven't looked into it, but it's something I do intend to look into, especially QNX is of interest to me because QNX offered by BlackBerry, Apple uses it with CarPlay, so all of that integration there, you don't usually hear about Apple and BlackBerry participating much together, whereas Android and BlackBerry you'll see coming up in a few slides. So stay tuned for that. It is something we intend to look into, but haven't gotten there yet. So for iOS, what's new? We're going to start looking more at dynamic analysis of iOS devices. So if you actually have the device and you can connect it to a free tool such as iBackupBot, you will actually recover more information than you will dumping it with Celebrate. There are system logs and crash reports that you can get of what is running in memory on that device that the forensic tools cannot capture for you once that device is just backed up. So here, this is my actual iPhone. That's why a lot of stuff is grayed out here or blurred for you. But you can see I have options to back up. You can also see that backup encryption is turned off. You can turn it on. But more importantly, on the left-hand side of the screen here under Tools, we are able to recover system logs and crash reports. So in 585, that's something we're going to start looking at. Everyone rolls their eyes at BlackBerry. It becomes the nightmare for everyone. When I just talked 2 weeks ago, I had several people in the class who still see BlackBerry 10 devices, who still carry BlackBerry 10 devices. I just got finished teaching a VLive class for FOR585, and I had 3 students online who still use BlackBerry devices. So they do exist. At some point, you are going to see them. That's why we include a mini section on BlackBerry 10. One of our focuses, BlackBerry devices running Android applications. So you can see the file system structure on the right-hand side. It looks very similar to Android apps, but there are drastic differences. So we focus on where to look at the data, how to parse the data, where the data can be stored, and just what to expect with these third-party apps on BlackBerry devices. Additionally, we are looking more at network. artifacts on Android, iOS, BlackBerry, and Windows Phone. So if the user connects to Wi-Fi access points, things that are interesting is you can actually put a user in a location based upon a Wi-Fi access point, even if they don't connect to it. If it's recognized and offered to their device and the user just ignores it, so that if they are openly searching for Wi-Fi, it puts them within range of things. Now you'll have the people who say, what about Pineapple? Can you spoof it? Absolutely. But we're going to dig deeper to actually say, okay, did a user save this profile? Did they connect to it? Did they enter a password? Where is this data stored on all these devices? If they're not using Wi-Fi, are they using LTE? If they're using LTE, what does that look like tower-wise? Can we put a person by a cell tower? Something that's of interest that just started happening to me recently, and a few students had the same experience. Sitting on an airplane with my iPhone. I have an iPhone 7 running 10.3.2. I had my device in airplane mode and I still received a text message. So considering how that message came through, these are things that we're covering in 585. So can you put a user behind a device, and can you say that they were currently using their phone when something occurred? Where this gets really difficult, these applications. These apps will now advertise that they can do everything. One of the issues we have is a lot of them can do everything. The other issue, people use hundreds, if not thousands, of applications to simply make calls or encrypt message, self-destruct. They have these apps all over their devices, all over their SD cards, in their cloud. So we need to look at all of the capabilities, what it looks like if your tool supports it, and how to handle it if your tool doesn't. So we literally have categories for all of these features that these apps offer, and we teach you how to shred them, just literally tear them apart down to bare bones, down to bare databases and preference files to make sure that you are literally juicing these apps for everything that they can provide. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make in smartphone forensics is trusting that your tool parsed all the information. So here we're showing you screenshots from Oxygen Detective and Celebrate. On the left, that's Oxygen Detective. I will tell you, if you work social networking applications, Oxygen Detective is fantastic at what it will pull for you. Now, does it do a perfect job? No. These tools rely on the user saying yes to specific permissions in order to be able to parse this data. You can see on the left-hand side here, it did a pretty good job. For example, WhatsApp and Telegram advertise as secure communication applications, Line as well. Look at what is parsed from that. Now, did it get everything? No. Will 585 teach you how to make sure you got everything? Yes. On the middle screenshot here, we're looking at Celebrate, Physical Analyzer, and what it parsed. You can see here it parsed messages from Line, WhatsApp, Kik, iMessage, Facebook Messenger. What it's not showing here is Telegram. It was parsed in this screenshot, but these tools will all differ, and this is the exact same device. Then you hop just a little bit over to the far right screenshot, and we can see gaming activities, that play activity, SQLite DB was missed. Celebrate did parse the Orca2 database, which is associated with Facebook Messenger. It parsed photos.SQLite, but it missed iCloud Notes. So there are things here where some of the tools will parse it well, and some of it won't. One word of caution here. When your tool says it's parsing something, so here, for example, the Orca2 database associated with Facebook Messenger, it may be parsing a table from that database, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's parsing everything, which leads us into SQL queries. When you look at these database files, you're going to have a lot of columns that you may not need. You're also going to have columns that you need to interpret the data. So what we're going to teach you is which columns commonly matter on these devices. Here we're looking at an iPhone. We will do this for iOS and Android data. You're going to be expected to go through and write simple queries, choose the correct timestamp. Things with timestamp, you're going to see where you have timestamp, message received, message sent. What do all these timestamps mean? What is the format? What's the easiest way to convert them so that it all makes sense? You can spit it out to a spreadsheet and include it in your forensic report. Here we're looking at some MAC date timestamps, so MAC absolute. We'll teach you how to decode these. how to manually write queries that will work every single time. To decode them, we give you cheat sheets on the date timestamps because that's where a lot of people struggle. So what you can do is then convert it so it's readable and export this out. For SQLite, we are going to use Paul Sanderson's SQLite Forensic Browser. We are going to use the SQLite Wizard in Celebrate. We are going to use SQLite Spy and other tools. So there's no reason that you can't use what is built into the course. So we're going to give you so many options that you can choose and run with whichever one you're most comfortable with or whatever makes sense in your lab. One of the cooler labs, in my opinion, these self-destructing applications on what's left behind. Often you'll find where they are either using encryption or encoding, and we may or may not be able to recover the chat that went with the message. However, we may be able to go through and recover the attachment. So here what we're looking at is Marco Polo, and in Marco Polo you can do secure chat back and forth. So here we are taking the message table and the video table and manually chaining the artifacts back together. It's awesome when you can do this because this is one of the apps, for example, that your forensic tools may not parse. Anytime I'm working an app, what I usually do is I load it into Oxygen, IEF, or Axiom, and Celebrate, and I see what is parsed, and then I start diving manually. Once I find the databases, I extract them completely from the tools, or I use Celebrate SQL Wizard. I will load it into Oxygen and try to recover deleted tables, and then I take it into my own hands. I personally prefer SQL Spy, but it's your call on what you want to use. We will teach you how to handle this data and how to manually piece all these artifacts back together. So what I would say is if you like getting your hands dirty and you like understanding how these tools are working when you press a button, then 585 is for you. What we do not teach you is simple mobile device acquisition. We recommend that if you have a tool in your lab, you take that vendor's training or you just practice on your own. We do have an appendices full of instructions on how to acquire data using microsystemation tools, Oxygen, Magnet, and Celebrate. So we do cover how to do acquisitions using all those methods. Additionally, we will cover harder concepts. So if a device is encrypted or if it's locked, what can you do? What happens if the device is rooted or jailbroken? Can you acquire it for free? These concepts are covered in the course, I should say. We do not cover in depth JTAG, chip-off, and ISP. What I recommend is take training by providers who offer that, such as Teal Technology or Celebrate. They both offer courses where you can get this type of instruction. Our goal is to teach you, once you extract the data, how to not let your tool sway you in one way or the other to understanding the artifacts on what it actually means behind the scenes. So your tool will not parse all information. We will teach you how to do it. Your tool is not going to parse all third-party apps. Even if it does, it may present false information based upon how that application stores data. Again, it's not the tool's fault, it's the phone's fault on how it's actually storing this stuff. One of the biggest issues is as soon as your phone uses its brain, that data has to be stored somewhere. So if you're communicating with Siri or you're looking at Google suggestions, anytime your phone screen shows you something, that data is written to a database or a file somewhere on that device. The issue here is your forensic tool will often carve that data and report it as actual evidence even though it's not. So you need to understand how this data is stored. Who should take 585? In my opinion, everyone, because Cindy and I will entertain you and make sure you have a great learning experience. But in honesty, it's anyone who's even interested in forensics. If smartphone forensics is of interest to you and you want to go with where data is being stored, everyone has a smartphone. Take 585. If you are an experienced examiner, you should also take 585. When we look at media exploitation, so those who are in the military or supporting Domex operations, and you need to put people behind devices, this is for you. People trying to hand out devices to their workplace and making sure that they're secure. Something that's super important here is if you're handing out a device to people in your workplace, you need to know what data you're going to be able to get if a breach occurs or some kind of malpractice or things that the user shouldn't be doing on their device occurs. You want to make sure that you have access to it, that you don't lock it so much that you can't even get data from it. Law enforcement, federal agents, obviously this is for you. One pickup that I've really seen lately, accident reconstruction students. Tons of people are taking the course now to put a person behind a mobile device when an accident occurs. Graduates of the other SANS courses. SEC 575, the mobile device security and ethical hacking. That course and this course really go hand in hand and really close a lot of gaps for others. So if you're looking to take your skills to the next level, this class is for you. My information is here. This webcast will be posted to the SANS website. You can always reach out and get me on Twitter, on smarterforensics.com. You can email me. Questions that are coming in right now. Yes, there is. I don't think there is an expiration for 50% for alumni. That's a really good question. I think as long as you have taken 585, you can get that 50% discount. Another question coming in is, will someone with zero forensics experience be able to swim while taking 585? Or should that person take any other courses prior? I will make sure, and Cindy will make sure, that you do well in this course. I had someone take the course once who never used a smartphone. So that is more challenging than someone who has never taken forensics. So you do not have to take any other forensic course prior to taking this. We will make sure that we get you up to speed. Something else that Cindy and I do, we travel with phones and the cables you need to do acquisitions. So if someone is new to forensics and has never even acquired devices, we encourage you to do it while we're there. We encourage you to dump your old device and start snooping around and taking looks at things. You don't have to be proficient in writing queries and scripts. Excellent question. I was just about to say that. We teach you how to. So we make the labs challenging enough for those who already do it, but easy enough for those who haven't. So there are bonus questions in each of these labs to challenge students who have gotten to that point with the goal of someone who has never done it before. By the end of the course, you should be able to hit some of those bonus questions. Another question, should you have a sample of smartphones available for testing? Not necessarily. If you have your own that you want to dump, we recommend doing that. However, we bring phones for you. I always travel with rooted and jailbroken devices because I know people are curious about what that looks like. They're available for you to sign out in the evenings and take with you. But I will say dumping your own smartphone that you use every day is eye-opening on what you can actually recover. It is awesome to sit there and look at the data and what still exists. So with that, any other questions? There's still space in SansFire in DC in the classroom. It's not fully sold out yet. So if you're looking to be one of the first to hit this new material, I recommend signing up for that. I teach that starting July 24th in just a few weeks here. It's going to be fun. There's going to be bonus at-night sessions. Sarah Edwards, Phil Hagan, and I are doing a talk in the evening on Apple continuity and handoff and what it actually looks like across the network on Macs and on smartphones. Cindy's teaching in Chicago and in San Francisco. So if you're West Coast or Midwest and you're looking for the course there, what's cool about that is you'll get the new material with Cindy, but you'll get the MP3 of my voice. So technically you're getting 2 instructors for 1. I'm then teaching in Vegas, one of my favorite events. In Vegas, it's always interesting because this is when iOS 11 will come out, and oddly, iOS 11 always is released on the day I'm teaching iPhone. So what we do is I will update my device, dump it live in the classroom, and we'll start digging for evidence. Again, Be Live starts on Monday with both Cindy and I, so you can sign up for that. You can take it simulcast. So if you can't sign in or attend classes in Vegas, I know some people can't take any training when Las Vegas is tied to the name, sign up for my simulcast and take it from your seat. You'll still get the live classroom experience. The class is offered on demand. Again, it's going to be in Berlin if you're overseas. I'm teaching in Berlin in October. Cindy is teaching in Australia in November. And then in December, I'm back in DC at CDI, and then in Bethesda, Dallas, London, starting 2018. So we're going to be offered, it seems, almost every month and around the world. So I hope to see you in 585 soon. It's really exciting with the advancements we made and how far we've come in smartphone forensics. If anyone has questions or thoughts after the fact, seriously, reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me at smarterforensics.com. And I hope to see you in class soon. If you're alumni, I hope to see you again. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, Heather, for your great presentation, which helps bring this content to the SANS community. To our audience, we greatly appreciate you listening in. For a schedule of all upcoming and archived SANS webcasts, including this one, please visit sans.org/webcasts. Until next time, take care, and we hope to have you back again for the next SANS webcast.